The long and short of it is that I haven't been this aggravated covering this team in quite some time. You know, normally in the early days, I'd come out here ranting and raveling, you know, talking all kinds of craziness, saying all kinds of craziness. We were having fun. Everything was fun. But there were some times that, like, I was extremely aggravated. There were times that things were falsely reported that would make me very aggravated. And there were some times, like, as an example, when people around this media corps can't read, and when Will Wade got popped and the FBI did an investigation and had findings that was found in the federal courtroom that nobody wanted to discuss, when Gloria Scott came out here and said openly in the court, or openly to LSU, that she was trying to blackmail and extort LSU, like some of those things, like we don't listen, we don't read, we don't put the time in to make sure that the things that we are reporting are highly accurate and ready to be published, or highly accurate in the sense of that what we're doing, or that the team that you cover, when they have success from a financial and monetary standpoint, you have success. And then when you go out there and spat your mouth off about baseless, factless BS, it hurts every one of us. But in case you don't know what I'm talking about, let's get right on into it, because John Talty, or Salty, whatever he wants to go by, from CBS Sports on 247 Sports, a national sports reporter yesterday, which it's ironic because I mentioned this on the show yesterday and brushed it off, said that we're not going to talk about it because it was baseless. Nevertheless, we're here. CBS national reporter John Talty wrote an article on Saturday that he had heard from industry sources that the culture that Brian Kelly has produced at LSU has started to translate on the field. You mean like going down 17-0 and then coming right back and winning a football game on the road in the SEC with two new starting wide receivers that went into the first round, I might add. You were replacing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You replaced your entire defensive staff. You mean the defense that forced 3 turnovers, 2 of them in the second half, that had nothing to do with referees, had nothing to do with blown calls, and had everything to do with the schematic and play that you had on the field. You get down 17-0 early in the game, and then everybody just goes quiet. John Talty goes quiet. But John Talty came out with an article saying that the culture at LSU is not good. Is basically what he's saying. And then he goes on a local Baton Rouge radio show, which I have no problem with. If somebody does something and is intriguing, well, then bring them on. But you better have facts around the situation of the team that you cover, because you don't want, which this place normally produces on its own, the chaos that swirls around the bowl in Red Stick that's never ending. It's never ending. But just to give you the exact quote from John Talty of CBS Sports, he says that multiple industry sources. What in the good God world does that mean? Industry sources. Says that people familiar with the situation, or industry sources familiar with the situation, that have told me about LSU that the on-field issues are a result of a disconnect between Brian Kelly and the players at LSU. Where was the disconnect when they won the game in the fourth quarter? Where was the pushback on John Talty when this happens? And why in the good God world are we writing reports about it the following morning, when if any of you, and I mean any of you, that have any contacts up at the football ops, that you could have made one call like Morris Bart and found out that that's not simply true. And if you've ever been in a locker room and played sports a day in your life besides golf, or tucking in your shirt into your Dockers, you would have found out that none of that was true. What has Brian Kelly done since he's been here? He's embraced this place. He's fed off of the culture. And quite honestly, most of you, some of you, especially some of you that have a little bit more status than others, have come out here, said, oh, well, Brian Kelly's doing this, Brian Kelly's doing that. He won the SEC West when the guy that's from here, Ed Orgeron, let's call it what it is, left it a dumpster fire. It was always going to take a little bit longer for him. Now, am I giving Brian Kelly any excuses for what happened in any game one that he's faced? No. Against Tennessee? No. But do I give him credit for winning the SEC West in year one when he walked through the door and 39 scholarship players were in there? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I think we constantly come out here and we have to go out there. So there was a lot of people out there today having to save face, getting LSU players, whether it be in the player media availability or bringing players on their show to cover up what was allowed to happen when John Talty, who, by the way, a quick Twitter search from John Talty, I just typed in his name, typed in Brian Kelly along with his name, and the last 3 tweets that he sent off is degrading LSU and talking shit about Brian Kelly, and we think that that report is accurate. By the way, after a video that you saw of your biggest player, your biggest star, dabbing up Brian Kelly at the end of the win, when you have a head coach that's sitting in the middle of a locker room, emotional as hell, I don't know if Boston men cry, but probably fighting back a little bit of emotions and tears because everything that he had been preaching, every single thing that Brian Kelly had been preaching since day one that he stepped on the greatest soil known to man in the state of Louisiana is finally coming to fruition. Guys, do you understand how difficult it is when you are down 17-0 and nothing is going your way? And then you have guys like Braden Swinson, who's the SEC Defensive Player of the Week, or D Lineman of the Week, should be the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. But when he comes out, and which he just did 32 minutes ago, he comes out and says, listen, man, we were making some mistakes, and Brian Kelly says, it's fine, continue to play. And we did, and we kept making plays, and we won the football game. This place takes a toll on you sometimes, and I'm at my wit's end. I've seen the clickbaity, the very much clickbaity, newsworthy stuff that's been flying around here over the last 6 months, and quite honestly, I've bit my tongue on all of it. But it's time for us as a community of fans to stop allowing that to happen, calling out the bullshit. Because I know for a fact that you'll call me out on it, but legacy media, you won't. And they're not even legacy media. I built this with a snowball, snowflake, whatever it's called, microphone, and a laptop. Now we're sitting here with multiple people. Actually, and currently with you, 797 of you, 11 minutes into the show, based off of a dream, a wish, and hard work. It is our job as the media, every single time that we come out here, to make sure that we are the actual facts that are happening behind the scenes are true. When John Talty, who I was not going to give any attention to because I think everything, actually, I don't think. I went and searched it myself. Every single article and every single thing he's posted on social media about Brian Kelly has been negative. Every single thing. Want to know why I do a national show? Well, number one, it's because I love college football. Number two, it's because going to a national audience is really fun. But number three, this place can be challenging sometimes with the things that we allow from a media corps. I have comments in here. Blake, please, let's just move past it. No! Because throughout the day, you have people going out there trying to save face on a baseless article. Guys, that's like Glenn Gilbo coming in here and doing that, and you hate him. Which Glenn, quite honestly, has done that, who John Talty allegedly is good friends with. Go figure. Go figure. But Talty goes on the Hunt Palmer show, okay? I don't know what day it was. I don't know. I know that I sent you, we talked about it for 30 seconds last night, okay? And I have no problem with Hunt. Zero problem with Hunt. Zero problem with what he does or anything like that. I think he does a great job. Good for him. But the bottom line remains, man, at some point, there's got to be a breaking point of picking up the phone and calling somebody and asking them if any of this is true. Because this little thing right here was used religiously today. From 7:32 a.m. to about 30 minutes when I received my last phone call and had to take it because it's more BS that behind the scenes is being generated by people who don't go in that building, nor do they talk to anybody in that building. We don't need this. You're coming off of a really good win against a good South Carolina team. Here's the facts. South Carolina is probably going to be an 8-win football team. 8 to at max 9-win football team. And at the end of the year, and which is ironic because last year they could be Mizzou, the team in the SEC that came out of nowhere when their head coach was on the hot seat. And you go on the road after having so many things depleted from you and win. Guys, Orgeron would have fucked that game up 10 ways to Sunday. I'm just calling it what it is. Les Miles would have found a way to mess that game up 10 ways to Sunday. But because you do have a CEO head coach, they didn't panic. We panicked as fans. We panicked as media. John Talty definitely thought it was a good opportunity to start taking shots at BK because, well, he did during the South Carolina game. It is our job to find out if things are true or not. And if you can't find things out, then stop pushing a person. I know and listen, before I get to any comments, literally any comments, me coming out here and do this is going to backfire on me, but I don't care anymore. I really could care less anymore about what goes on. But here's what I do care about. That in a UCLA week, for the first 15 minutes of this godforsaken show, I got to come out here because all the things that everybody's talking about right now, the interns found out the social media, I shouldn't say social media, the Twitter impressions behind the John Talty incident has now gotten 1.9 million views on Twitter. It's a massive talking point. Because he yelled at a kicker? Let me make sure that I repeat this again too. If your culture is fractured, if your culture had not been in place the way that BK had established it and wanted to establish it, you do not win on Saturday. Lenora Sellers being in there or not. It doesn't happen. Want to know why Brian Kelly really slammed his fist after he lost to USC? Let me tell you, here's the real reason why he slammed his fist down. It's because that he knows that the formula that he uses and that he's used in the 33 years of being a head coach is a winning formula. And for whatever reason, against USC and for every game won, it hadn't worked. And he knows it's a winning formula. Here's a behind-the-scenes look. So does his really, really good friend Saban. When they're going into pregame and him and Saban are cackling like schoolgirls before a game. When Brian Kelly's getting pursued by LSU and Scott Woodward. And the things that Pete Thamel was reporting at the time, which Pete is very good at his job, so I believe what he says. He's the one that broke the Brian Kelly to LSU news. That Pete Thamel said when Brian Kelly was starting to get pursued by Scott Woodward, that the first phone call that he made, guess to who? Guess to who? To Nick Saban. Two of the last three tweets from John Talty is talking shit about Brian Kelly and LSU. Now, I haven't checked it since 12 o'clock today while we were preparing these handy-dandy notes about UCLA. Maybe there's something else in there. I don't know. But the last time I checked, the two of the last three tweets are him talking about Brian Kelly. Do you have a long way to go? Yes, you do. The reality of it is that LSU has a long way to go as a football team. But we have to live in the now, man. We have to live in the right now of what happened. And there's a lot of you that have been in locker rooms because a lot of you have played sports. And you know this for a fact. There are a lot of guys that are in a locker room who don't agree with what the coach's decisions are, mostly about playing time. And there's always going to be disagreements. There's always going to be challenges. We talk about guys that Brian Kelly might be needing to start or play now. It definitely happens times 10 in a locker room. But there has been some baseless reports and things that come out. Brian Kelly to Michigan. Guys, Brian Kelly was not going to take that. It would be suicide. He knows that. Openly denying it. You have, parents coming out saying like, hey, man, what has my son done to receive the criticism to be talked about the way that he's being talked about? I mean, some of the things that have happened are not okay. Last week, me receiving a phone call that people at South Carolina are so happy that you gave them a game plan because, well, let's just call it what it is. Somebody trying to do something that wasn't even true. Guys, the report about Harold Perkins isn't even true. He was moving to the Star. No, he didn't. And no, he wasn't. They ran a 4-3 defense. But again, you have an opponent that knows for a fact what you are doing. Some things just aren't acceptable, man. They're not acceptable. All right. Let's get to it. We got a lot to discuss. All right. We got a lot of comments in here. Leighton Linder with a $2 super chat says, period, friend, the BK, hashtag BK era, go Tigers. Look, there are things, look, BK's got a lot of things that he has to figure out. Culture's not one of them. Culture's just not one of them. Do they need better personnel in some positions? Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Do they need better personnel in some positions? Yes. Did they need better coaches on the defensive side of the football? Yes. They went and got them. Guys, you have not seen LSU play defense like this maybe since 2019. Not like this. Brian Kelly was breaking down film on LSU Gold today. I went and saw it. The schematical things that they're doing, guys, it's brilliant. Big wins like you had at South Carolina can propel you to things. If you beat Nichols, you beat a tough South Carolina team on the road. We're going to talk about UCLA here tonight. You can beat UCLA at home. You can beat South Alabama at home. You got a bye week, and then Ole Miss comes into town. 3 weeks along with the bye is a long time to figure some things out. That doesn't mean that you can just walk in here and lay down because UCLA and South Alabama aren't good opponents. And we're going to talk about that exactly here tonight. You can't lay down. You got to have a fast start. But culture and being out there, like, listen, man, not only talking to people in that building, being out there for 14 of the 21 days for at least 2 hours a day. Culture fractured where? Guys, you see what the players are talking about. You see Will Campbell. You see Emory Jones. And I'm going to let you a little in on something. There's been a lot of things that Brian Kelly is doing wrong. There's a lot of things as a fan base and a media corps we're doing wrong too. And if we need to rip the full Band-Aid off, there it is. Like, you got to, there's loose ends that you got to fix in NIL. Tennessee announced today that 10% of ticket sales is going up so we can start paying players. Guys, by the way, 2 of the last 3 years, or is it 2 of the last 4? Forgive me if I'm missing the year, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 of the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. They've gotten the number 1 quarterback in the country committed. One of them is playing in a high-profile game that we'll talk about tonight, Tennessee versus Oklahoma, and Nico Imalava. Then you got the Faze and Brandon kid. That's what true alignment looks like. And BK doesn't have that right now. Here's a newsflash to everybody. He doesn't have the alignment like some of his competitors do. He doesn't. He's done the best with what he's had. It's not been better than what everybody else is doing. Other programs are adapting and evolving. You're not. But somehow, some way, we'll find a way to blame him. Guys, we're in episode 1006, so 1006. I feel like I've done this for a relatively good time, being with you at least 5 days a week for the last 52 times 4. However many weeks. Me and you have been through a lot together. The media game is not a difficult one. And I promise you this is the last point because we got a lot to get to. There are ways you do things to get points across. There are things that you do to manipulate things. There are also things that you do and can plant and can get things out there in a bunch of different ways. But I'm not going to come out here and share that. This game's not a difficult one. Anyway. All right. Cole Adams says he's in the 210. Good to have you in here. Kevin Fonda, Big Mamu in the building. Good to have our good friend. By the way, Big Mamu, man, you see him out at LSU, man. Tell him what's up. The man is the best cook. Sources have said to AYS that Mamu Fontenot might be one of the best cooks Louisiana's ever produced, even more than your grandmammy. Even more than your grandmammy. And your grandmammy can cook some mean gumbo. What's going on, Mamu? Jackson Carney says, super chatted at the very end of the show yesterday. If you don't want to run Nuss, that's fine. Then either take the read option, look out. I agree. Mind-boggling that we haven't done this. Very mind-boggling. Nothing else I can say to that, Jackson. I thank you for the super chat for last night that I didn't see. That's my apologies. Yeah, very mind-boggling. Very, very, very much mind-boggling. What I would say to that is that Nuss needs to pull one this week. Because they don't – I'm going to continue to say this. Brian Kelly, again, was talking about that South Carolina's game plan defensively was to take every interior run play away. Caden Durham had success running the football. Guess where? Guess where? I told you this on Saturday. I told you this again yesterday before Brian Kelly came out to the media and did a game breakdown. Guys, the game's not that difficult. When you hit play, rewind, it's not that difficult. Nuss has got to pull some of these or get a package in there. You know, I'll say this. it was really interesting to me that Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit mentioned Juwan Johnson's name about 8 times. I mean, the dude's been a running back for 10 days, and you're naming him at least 8 times during the entire broadcast, at least twice a quarter. What are you doing there? So, again, yes, Jackson, I agree with you. David's in the 318. Leandra Lewis is in the 602. Good to have you. James, the 225. Luke is in the 337. Great. Thankful that all of you are here with us. Chase Abear with a $5 super chat says, do you think LSU figured out their new game plan and changed it in the second half? 100%. No, well, I don't, it didn't take to the second half because I'm going to tell you the truth. LSU knew that South Carolina knew. But, I mean, you're 3 days full into an install, and I don't think it's fair for LSU to go out there and start changing things on a Thursday from a defensive schematical standpoint. Do I think that they changed a lot of things in the second half? Yes. I think the schematical changes offensively were drastic, if I'm being honest, based off of what you did. You know, you attacked the middle of the field, throwing the football, I think, 17 times in the second half. Yeah, you ran out, you threw in. It was a big difference. I mean, look, Mason Taylor's touchdown, guys, is inside the box, right? Like it's inside the box. So yes, I do. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right. Spent a lot of time on this. Where are you listening from? We greatly appreciate our good buddy. Zach says 901, baby. The Memphis boys rolling in. Good to have you. I forget if they're live tonight, so I apologize for that. Got lots to talk about. We're going to break down UCLA here tonight. A lot of things that I saw during the Indiana game that you can have success with, things that you've got to do. And by the way, you need to go out there and make a statement. These slow starts have to stop. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more too here tonight. We'll go around your SEC, and at the end of the show, we'll get to some of your questions, thoughts, questions, concerns. You can put it inside the chat at #AskBlake or just send in a super chat. You send in the super chat, your comments would 100% get read. We greatly appreciate every one of you that do that. Let me do this. We are already 30 minutes into the show. Did not intend to spend that much time on it. Knew that I probably would. Tons to get to. Let me get to a quick break. During the break, hit the like and share. Facebook, guys, you've been killing it. Over 3 million views this past 28 days. We appreciate all of you for doing that. Hit the like and share. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Let's get to UCLA. Let's turn the page. We do that next. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Interns. Nevertheless, we're back. We're live. We got lots to talk about. So, LSU takes on the Sissy Blue Shirts. Hold up. Wait a minute. I got to start off with something. I want a little bit of revenge on UCLA. You know, when LSU goes through a pretty bad loss, whether it be football, baseball, hockey, tennis, golf, ping pong, whatever the sport is, swimming, any sport, I always want, when you lose to an opponent, to get the revenge back on them. I think that's what most competitors, probably like yourself, want, is to always get that revenge. I'm never going to forget, though, and I'm sure that none of you will, when Ed Orgeron's walking into the stadium in 2021, calling, saying to a fan, "Why don't you come down here and take off that Sissy Blue shirt?" Beginning of the end for Ed. Actually, sorry, way before that, but you get my drift here. But LSU does take on the Sissy Blue Shirts, quoting Ed Orgeron. I guess I do wear Sissy Blue, if I'm going to be honest. Not UCLA Sissy Blue, but, you know, we got family pictures coming up in a couple of weeks, and I don't know if I'm not going to be in that kind of shade of blue. Just going to have to ask my wife. Nevertheless, they took on Indiana last week, and quite honestly was a really bad game for UCLA at home. Now, Indiana, in my humble opinion, through 3 weeks, has been a really good team. They've really transformed what they're doing offensively. They're really good in the passing game, and they really lit up UCLA. There are a lot of things that I think going into this game against UCLA, who is 1-1 on the season, I think that there are a lot of things that you do well that UCLA has shown through 2 weeks they do not do well. Indiana was really good at getting separation with their receivers. You know, I look at Miles Cross, I look at Omar Cooper, I look at Surratt. All three of those guys were able to get massive parts of separation. Now, Curtis Rourke, their quarterback, was really good and was really good at hitting the right receiver at the exactly good and right time. A lot of timing stuff that they hit on UCLA, quick slants, hitches, post or skinny post, hit a couple of corners, threw a fade route in the back of the end zone. Everything that Indiana did from a passing game standpoint, I will be a little real with you, I thought was one of the more crisper games that I had seen from an opponent that maybe doesn't have the superstar weapons that we know of or household names. But nevertheless, Indiana went into LA last week and really put a smackdown on them. The biggest thing that I noticed was the separation that the wide receivers were able to get. Here's the question that I start asking. I do think that Garrett Nussmeier and C.J. Daniels are starting to get a little bit better of a rhythm. You know, I still think that might have been a touchdown that he had in the end zone where he made a ridiculous catch. I thought he came down with 2 feet and was in. I was hoping that they were going to review that. Maybe I'm wrong, but nevertheless, they didn't. I look at some of the things that you have a receiver like Aaron Anderson. Guys, last year I was very high on Aaron Anderson and admitted that I was wrong, or maybe I was a little bit too early. You know, Aaron Anderson coming off of the injury that he had at Alabama, I saw a lot of really big flashes from him last year with Jane Daniels and company. He just couldn't put everything together, nor did we get him vertical enough to where he could go out there and make plays. I think Aaron Anderson is someone that you're going to have to feature. If there's a third wide receiver at the current moment, it is Aaron Anderson. And I think that you got to continue to feed him the football because he has shown that he can get separation. He did it against USC. He did it against UCLA. He did it against USC and South Carolina. He did it against Nichols. I think you still need to get him the football and touches, along with his counterpart and a guy that is a lot like him in a lot of ways is Xavion Thomas. I think Xavier Thomas is one of the best gadget players that I've seen. And I use that in a very endearing term. I wouldn't mind seeing Xavier Thomas get a couple of more handoffs in the games that we've seen. Now, I know that you're trying to figure some things out at running back, and you might have done that with Caden Durham, but he has been really explosive against both USCs when he's been given the rock and getting and hitting the lanes in the running game. Your wide receivers, I think, are the biggest advantage that you have going into UCLA. I just feel as if that the separation that Indiana's receivers were able to get against UCLA, kind of, to be real with you, appalled me. I did not expect a Kurt Cignetti team in year one to be that crisp, and they were. Maybe Indiana is a really good football team. I don't know. They're 3-0. They hadn't really played anybody outside of UCLA. And listen, UCLA is in a situation where their head coach, and you all know this, at the time in January, actually in February or March, was it? I mean, look, Chip Kelly left very late, and Deshaun Foster had to come in. It just wasn't a good situation for UCLA. That is showing up on the field at the current moment through 2 weeks. Very much showing up on the film. But I think that that's the biggest advantage. But here is something that I very much have noticed from UCLA over the last 2 weeks. They've been pretty decent a bit against the run. Now, Indiana, I don't think Indiana has the offensive line that you do. And when people hear that, they're going to be like, well, Blake, our offensive line's ass. No, they're not. But they did kind of struggle to run the football in UCLA. I think that there were some really good things that they did defensively and run blitzes. I think there were some really good things that they did in sending the heat after Rourke, the Indiana quarterback. I wonder if that's because they do have a pretty decent front seven. But I don't know. I don't know how good Indiana is because, guys, they were, 3-9 a year ago, 4-8 a year ago. They were not a good football team, and they could not run the football. What I do know is that UCLA stopped it pretty much. The leading rusher for Indiana was Justice Ellison. He had 10 carries for 47 yards and a touchdown. Did break a couple of tackles late in the game when I thought UCLA was gassed. Here's where I'm currently at. I think that there are some good pieces on UCLA defensively, but I just don't think that they're really good. Now, it's the complete opposite of what I told you last week. Last week, I was like, man, that defense is popping off on film. We talked about, God, I can't ever remember his name. Number 7, the safety that picked off Nussmeier. We had probably a 5 to 10 minute conversation on him last week alone. And what he's done in that secondary. I just don't see a lot of talent right now or a lot of passion and want to from that UCLA football team. Thought they stopped the run pretty well, but defensively, guys, I think if you take care of business, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, I think if you take care of business, you can control what you can control. That you are going to take – I think that you could take a massive step forward. You have the chance and the ability. I don't think things are going to be given to you. I don't think things are going to be easy. But what I do think is that you have the ability to go out there and, quite honestly, take them to the woodshed if you play the game that you're supposed to. You should take them to the woodshed. I would be cautious about their front seven. Listen, they, from a pass rush standpoint, they like to hold on one second. They really get, excuse me, I'm sorry, I thought we had some news there. They really get after the quarterback. They sent PFF put this out there that they sent 47% blitz package or blitzes on passes this past week versus Indiana. Something to keep an eye on. They didn't get home once. And I think that Rourke, the quarterback in Indiana, look, he was flawless. I thought it was one of the best. I'm serious when I say this. I thought it was one of the better performances that I'd seen from a quarterback. He went 25 of 33 for 305 and 4 scores. The way that Rourke, the way things were dialed up. Look, Kirk Cignetti in Indiana, I don't know if he's not one of the better play callers in the country. What they did against UCLA was flawless. The game plan that they had was flawless. Maybe there's a situation where they just made UCLA look really bad and they're really good. I don't know that. I don't think that they are. I think that you are a better team than Indiana. And that game for UCLA was at home. But my goodness, man, they were pretty decent against the running game, excuse me. But the separation gotten by the receivers was absolutely ridiculous. So we'll have to monitor that. Let's go over to the offensive side of the football with UCLA. So Eric Bieniemy, who a lot of you people in Louisiana clearly, and with him being with the Chiefs, know who he is, from New Orleans, is the OC at UCLA. And I would assume for him that what has transpired over maybe the last couple of months has been very difficult for him. He doesn't have the players. He doesn't have the personnel. You know, Ethan Garber is going to be the quarterback. He was 14 of 23 last week with an interception and a pretty massive fumble on the opening drive. Guys, there's nothing that they do that scares me. Their leading receiver last week was their running back and TJ Hayden. And he was obviously the leading rusher, but their offensive line played really bad. Their running game was really bad. And they didn't have, in my opinion, a lot of weapons on the outside. Guys, you should be able to, not saying that you will based off of the start that this team has gotten the last couple of weeks, but based off of what I've seen, I think that you can really put a statement out there to the country saying, hey, man, that win against South Carolina did a lot for us. It's going to be interesting. Here's the thing that with Eric Bieniemy that scares me a little bit. I do think Eric Bieniemy is a really good play caller. And I think that he will on a big stage, which I'm not saying Indiana's not a big stage. It's just not as big of a stage as playing LSU at 2:30 and Death Valley. It's not that big of a stage. It's not that big of this stage. I think Eric is going to come out and really throw some things at you. And we're going to get to do's and don'ts tomorrow. Things I want LSU to do and then I don't want him to do. And I'm going to tell you what probably my number one thing is going to be in the do's and don'ts. I don't want you to play vanilla like you did against Nichols. Please, dear Lord, do not be vanilla against this team. You have shown a lot that you're going to show all year. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that Blake Baker hasn't run yet this season and things he's keeping stored away for the right moment, the right time, and the right situation. But, man, I really want to go out there and make a statement. Do not, with Eric Bieniemy, go out there playing vanilla. Because if you just line up and play man-to-man and play base defense, he will light you up. Do not play around with them. You know, I'm a parent. As you can see, I'm married and have 2 loving kids. A lot of you are married and have kids or aspiring to be married and have kids. And let me tell you, from my vantage point, I know that I tell my kid, like, hey, Jewel, stop playing with your food. I don't say those exact words, but hey, baby, go ahead and eat. And, you know, let's get done with dinner. And then we'll go do what we want to do. She's always wanting to play and go do something. My beautiful blonde hair, blue-eyed baby Jewel. I feel like I want to tell LSU the same thing. Stop playing around. Don't play around with them. And you cannot play around with the Eric Bieniemy. The issue I have in saying that is that they were so clunky offensively, I felt bad for them as a team. A team like UCLA should not look like that against anybody, especially Indiana. I'm going to end this because I know the team's going to clip this and they're going to put it on social media. Don't play around with them. It's time to go out there and make a statement. Now, I don't think that the statement's not going that you would make by beating the dog manure out of UCLA. I don't think that it's going to be front page national news. I know it won't. But show the world and show everybody in the college football country, all right, well, maybe that win did mean something. And here's another thing I want to say, too, because earlier in the show, I talked about John Salty or whatever his name is. And John might be a good guy. John very well as a person be a really good guy. But there's a lot of bullshit that's going around right now. Some of it even coming from me, like, hey, man, when are you going to stop having slow starts? Tomorrow's show is going to be, I think, one for the ages. I already have things down in the handy-dandy notebook here. Let me turn this around so you know that I'm actually, anyway. It's in my humble opinion that you need to go out there and make a statement and say, hey, all right, they were clunky to start off with. Had a lot of things that they had to overhaul and overturn. All right, we see you. We see you. Have a really good performance, and it's going to do that for you. 100%. Three final thoughts or three final things on that game against UCLA and Indiana. Indiana had 2 sacks. I don't think that they had a good pass rush, and they still were able to get home. Receivers for UCLA were not able to get open hardly at all. 14 completions that they had were all short stuff, kind of just like stat patters at times, I felt like, trying to just get positive yards any way that you could. They do not have the pressure that you can send or the athletes that you have that you can send to get after Garber. Man, I just really hope and feel that you can do some really good things against them there. UCLA fumbled the ball in an opening drive. Man, I'm telling you, go watch that game with Indiana. Go watch that game with Indiana. You make the judgment for yourself. In saying all of that, I would say this, okay? I hope that listening to somebody like me doesn't mean like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe we can take this week off. Maybe, we don't have a tough opponent. No. Listen.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him to
Hit a wrong button. Sorry. That's on me, interns. If I forgot, that scared the shit out of me, though. Playing that commercial scared the shit out of me. What I would say is, final thought, go out there and take it to them. I'm ready for LSU to make a statement. We'll talk about that at great length tomorrow. All right. Let's do this. 51 minutes into the show. I'm going to come back and say this. We're going to continue to do Around Your SEC. We're going to do that next. Your boy's 22-8 in pick'ems this year. Been a little bit on a heater. Was 9-1 last week. Was 6-4 the week before, and I think 8-2 or 7-3 in week 1. I cannot remember, but whatever makes me 22-8. So it might be 7-3. We're going to come back, go around your SEC. I'll give you some picks and teams that I'm picking. Vanderbilt broke my heart, though. Vanderbilt broke my heart. Let me tell you why they broke my heart. I was really hoping for an undefeated Missouri and an undefeated Vandy to face off. Really do. Look at this. Interns, you see this? Zach, maybe you need to come give him a little bit of a reminder about how things work. But I never could see Zach because, he's either with his girlfriend or his internet's not working. All right, let's do this. Let's get to a quick break. We'll go around your SEC, and then we'll wrap things up. Thoughts, questions, concerns at the end. If you want to get some questions and thoughts and just have a discussion about LSU football. We'll do that next. Stay with us. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
I just got sent this, and I don't know who this gentleman is, but I'm going to read it off. Cody Belair. Let's see. Guys, can we national scout for On 3 Sports. I want to read this off before we get to Around Your SEC. He says, I remember watching Harlem Berry, LSU running back commit, 5-star. Says, I remember watching Harlem Berry for the first time a couple of years ago, and a name popped into my head immediately. I remember telling myself, quote, you cannot compare them. Don't do that. And yet here I am. Who do I think that Harlem Berry's comparison or player comparison is Reggie Bush. Here's the interesting thing. They're the same height. They're the same weight. They got the same 100-meter dash, close to it. Close to the same 200-meter dash. 40-yard dash. Reggie ran a 4.37. Harlem Berry ran a 4.40. Reggie did have a 10.8 broad jump leap in his USC Pro Day, but broad jump for Harlem Berry was 9.11. All the numbers that I gave to you right now, okay, were Reggie Bush's numbers when he went to USC's Pro Day. This is Harlem Berry as a sophomore. Vertical jump, damn near the same. Be interesting, man. I really, really, really do hope that he is. That'd be very intriguing if he is. Very, very intriguing. Let's go around your SEC before we get out of here. Big matchup this weekend, Tennessee versus Oklahoma. And listen, I think for us LSU fans, it's going to be very interesting to see how Oklahoma performs in their first SEC matchup, because even though Tennessee gets them in their first matchup, the SEC knows what they're doing, sending Josh Heupel to Oklahoma. LSU is going to get them at the last one. Here's the issues that I have in this game and where I'm going to go with it. I'm going to take Tennessee. And the reason I'm going to take Tennessee is because I do think that Oklahoma's offensive line has really been struggling. I know that their defensive line is really good, but I think Tennessee is – guys, I'm going to be real with you. They could be really good. They could be a playoff team. This is the first real test that they have. It's on the road. Nico Iamaleava, it's his first true on the road test in a hostile environment. I'm sure that Norman is going to be very much rocking due to the fact it's their first SEC game and SEC opponent, and Josh Heupel's coming into town. I think as the game goes on, it's not going to matter with Dylan Sampson, who, by the way, you should have recruited. It's not going to matter. Here's another thing. That offensive line for Tennessee has been really good. Lance Hurd at left tackle, guys, might be an all-SEC performer at the current moment. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs. I don't think Oklahoma has enough offensively. I think Jackson Arnold has been running for his life. I think it's highly unfortunate for him. He can make some good throws, but that team that struggled against Tulane last week, I don't know if they can make those same mistakes against Tennessee. Arkansas goes to Auburn. What do we make of Arkansas at the current moment? Team that you'll play in a couple weeks, ironically. But what do we make of them? Taylor Green was 11 of 26 in the game, in his last game against UAB. Problem is that Arkansas's running game is damn near elite at the current moment. When I look at Arkansas and look what they did this past week, Taylor Green had 17 carries. Their quarterback had 17 carries, 96 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Their star running back, Jaquez Jackson, had 15 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. They were in a little bit of a struggle with UAB, coming off of a heartbreaking loss at Oklahoma State. They got right. They got their minds right. They battled back, and they were able to beat UAB. I have no idea. Who to pick in this game. Auburn went to a new quarterback in Hank Brown, who had a very impressive first start. This game has some wacky stuff in it. For this, I'm not going to pick tonight. I'm going to wait and sleep on it. If I had to guess, I would lean Auburn just based off of the home field advantage, but I don't know. Florida versus Mississippi State this week. Look, I understand that Florida is very bad. I understand that they are in a crisis at the current moment when it comes to what they're doing at quarterback, what they're doing with their head coach. They're not really any good. Billy's in trouble. Here's the thing. Florida is not as bad as Mississippi State, who got blown out by Toledo last week. I feel bad for Mississippi State in a way because their head coach died. They had a lot of guys hit the portal. They couldn't recruit through high school because nobody believed in Zach Arnett. And Jeff Lebby is the one that's got to wear it on the chin because they didn't recruit either portal or high school at a high level. I think Florida is going to go to Starkville and roll them, ironically. So Billy coming off a really bad loss against Texas A&M. I think Mississippi State's really bad. Oh, and that's saying something. Georgia and Bama are on bye weeks. They play next week. That's going to be a really good game. But both of them are on bye weeks. Here's the thing. Bama getting an early bye week. So when they come into, I know that they have a bye week before you, but they will play a lot of games before they get a bye. We'll see. But both of them are on bye weeks before they play next week. Ole Miss plays nobody. They got Georgia Southern this week. That's going to be a blowout. Vandy versus Missouri. That game being in Columbia. Vandy had a really good chance to do something special. They had a chance to be undefeated going into Como. They're not going to be. That's highly unfortunate. Give me Missouri by 13. Texas at ULM, or Texas versus ULM. Two born and originated Louisiana quarterbacks. Very interesting here. General Booty versus Arch Manning. Look, man, I'm going to tell you, Arch Manning, for what it's worth, I think has gone to Texas. He's sat behind Quinn Ewers. He's been quiet. He's done what he's told. He's done what he's been asked. He's a really good athlete. He has put on some size since high school, probably 20, maybe 25, 30 pounds. He looks really good. That kid's going to be really good. I think that personally, I really do believe this in my heart. I think that they have a quarterback problem or a quarterback dilemma. And I think Arch Manning's going to roll this week because he's going to be the more prepared, so much prepared. And I think that he's just overall better than Quinn Ewers. A&M has Bowling Green this week. They also, in my opinion, have a quarterback controversy because I think Marcel Reed, the quarterback that played last week versus Florida, is also more dynamic and better than their starting quarterback in week 1 and Connor Weigman. That kid can really play. You better keep a note on Marcel Reed. I will be real with you. I would play both quarterbacks, and I would make Marcel Reed my starter. Just what I do. All right. Before we wrap up, thoughts, questions, concerns. Throw them inside the chat. Throw them inside the chat. Thoughts, questions, concerns. Let's get to a couple of them before we get out of here. Brandon Reese says, after the Florida game, Mississippi State has back-to-back road games against Georgia and Texas. That's brutal. Guys, they might be winless. Or did they won week 1, didn't they? They might be a 1-11 team. They're not good. They're not good. They got blown out by Toledo, man. Not good. Anthony says, ask Blake, do you have a Chris Hilton update? Here's what I'm going to say about Chris Hilton. I think it's very unfortunate that we had people in the media this weekend saying some very derogatory things towards Chris Hilton. I'm going to let you find that one out on your own. I'm not getting involved in that. What I will get involved in is shame on you. Guys, I'm just going to tell you this. There's nobody that wants to be on the field right now more than Chris Hilton. Nobody. With that being said, I know that Chris Hilton's been up at the facility at 5:30 in the morning every morning for the last 4 weeks. Know it for a fact. I think he's going to be okay. We'll see tomorrow when the injury report comes out. LSU issues an injury report. Let's see what his status is on it. I think that his status might be probable. We'll see. Pierce Lee says, give me booty with the upset. That's probably what P. Diddy also said before the feds came in. It's also what Diddy probably also said too. Brandon Reese says, some people want Lebby already fired. This isn't on Lebby. Gerald Rhodes says, hold Hilton out till breakout against Ole Miss. I don't think that that's smart. I think you need to get him. I think you need to get him in the game, and you need to let him run a little bit. You need to let him get the timing down. You need to show that you have him as a deep threat, and he needs to play. Don't hold him for Jack Diddley, because if you're not able to find the connection with him when you go into Ole Miss, go take it to him. Let him go out there and play. I'm going to be real with you. If Chris Hilton is playing and he's good to go, on the first play of the game, I'm throwing a bomb to him. Mainly due to the fact that, look, I know that these players are getting paid. There are things that you do to college kids that are over the line, and sometimes we're getting over the line. Chris Hilton has received a lot of that. Chris Hilton, for 8 months or 6 months, 8 months, came out here once a week, every week on this show. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm really discouraged by what I heard this past weekend about Chris. Very discouraged. Pierce Lee says, AO pause. Hey, man, you're the one that talked about booty. I mean, I'm just bringing up the fact that Diddy was in trouble. Southern Heart 2-1 or Southern Heat 2-1, says LOL, not Diddy. Hey, man, don't be doing stuff. I mean, bro, did y'all see all these things with Diddy today? And the man allegedly had his hands involved in killing Tupac. Not good. Fat Boy Slim says, I just stopped by to tell all the LSU Tigers have been playing possum and will beat old Piss. Mark the tape. I hope they do, brother. I hope they do. Let's go on a little bit of a winning streak here. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace.